4 personnel matters regarding the annual evaluation, duties, and salary of the city administrator, Jay Corey. Jay, do you want to do this in open or in closed session?
Close, please.
In closed session. In that case, we will adjourn the regular meeting. Not adjourn. We will recess the regular meeting at 9:05. All right, it's 9:19. I'm reconvening the regular session of the City Council. We come out of executive session. Council, anything you'd like to say this time?
Would you need a motion?
I would like a motion, please.
I make a motion to request that the city administrator, mayor, and city attorney move forward with drafting the contract for the city administrators.
Thank you. And Don seconds. Discussion? All in favor? All in favor, not opposed. Thank you, council. Let's move on to number 5, the regular agenda. Discussion of possible action on the following items. Item A is a request from Kerry Reed of Bandera County Rural Addressing to use a portion of the city park from 8 a.m. until noon on July 4th, 2020 for the Animal Pet Parade.
Make a motion that we allow Kerry Reed Bandera County Rural Addressing to use a portion of the city park for the July 4th annual pet parade.
Thank you. Jerry?
I'll second.
And Jerry seconds. Discussion?
Is this a usual?
It's an annual,
Annual.
yeah,
Okay,
they've
it's
been
okay
doing
to
it
do
for a
that.
long time.
And they have this pretty much down to a system now. Everybody's familiar with
Yeah,
how
it's
it's
real
supposed to
cute.
go. And, you know, it's a whole lot better. Any further discussion? All in favor? All in favor and opposed? Thank you. Item B, amendment, approval of amendment to 2019-20 fee schedule to change the portable building permit fee, which is on
Page 2.
page 2.
Do we charge now, Jay?
It'll be under.
For portable buildings? I didn't think we
Yes,
did.
we do. No, we don't. I'm sorry, we do not. But we will charge with an application.
Okay, what is the reason for this?
People are just throwing them up there. We're not seeing them.
Most cities don't charge a fee for a portable building.
Well, we're trying to be where we can actually keep up with what people are doing like that. So you have setbacks even on some portable buildings, of course. And people are throwing them up or building them in their backyard. We don't know about it. And then neighbor calls and says, well, somebody over the weekend built this thing or moved this building in and I can't see out my back window.
Okay, we're not trying to bring a big revenue in on
No,
this. We're just
not all.
trying to make sure we
Regulate.
know if we keep the revenue down to $10 or something, I wouldn't have a problem. Or the charge for the permit. But I do have a problem. Like I say, most cities don't charge. They come and go.
Well, there's a size limit, 120 square feet.
Anything under 120 square feet is not, you can put it in, there's no permit required, yeah. Anything over that, you do have to get a permit.
Because what we see happening, whether you've driven around and really noticed it, is, oh, well, so-and-so got a permit to build for a building and now grandma's living in it.
Mhm.
That's something we need to really be watching in the R1 district.
No, I agree with that. We have a lot of that.
Any further discussion on this?
So are we keeping the fee the same or what's the fee for the permit?
$50.
I think it's too much.
Not very much.
Okay, we ready? Any further discussion? All in favor?
Did you make a motion to approve? Did you make a
Oh, I didn't
motion?
have a motion yet. What am I doing? Okay,
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve.
thank you, Rebecca. I'm sorry for
I'll second that.
then seconds. Any further discussion? All in favor? All in favor, none opposed. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, item C is amendment, approval of amendment to the 2019-2020 fee schedule to change the residential inside city limit and residential outside city limit deposit to 150 and 200 respectively. And the reason for that, Jill?
So what's happening is, right now, our deposit,
I think the mayor just wanted a little background beforehand, so we can understand. That's
the deposit is not covering the cost after people move out, and then they're having a balance left over, and it's costing the city because they're not coming back and paying. So $100 deposit, if they're there 30 days and then their extra few days, the $100 is not covering it. So we're seeing over and over, people are moving out with a balance of $30 to $40, and it's never getting paid because we can't take it out of the deposit. So what we're wanting to do is just move the deposit up $50 more for each, inside and outside. This is residential only, to cover those costs when people move out. That's it.
How much is the commercial? Do you know?
300.
300?
Are we
Yeah, but it
discussing the
won't-
commercial?
No.
Residential.
This is only residential inside city limits and outside city limits.
I'd like to make a motion.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the amendment to the 2019-2020 fee schedule to change the residential inside city limit and residential outside city limit utility deposits to $150 and $200.
Second, Jerry,
I'll second that.
discussion?
Did you say change it to 150?
Yes, that's what's on the agenda from 100.
I thought you said something like $100.
Yeah.
It's 100 now,
Oh,
and
it
we're
is
gonna
100
increase it
now.
to 150.
Okay.
So I have
Rebecca.
Okay, so again, you said right now it's 100, you're moving to 150 inside. Currently, it's 150 outside the city limits, and you're moving it up to, bumping up to 200.
Right.
Is there, I'm just curious about how frequently this is occurring, that $100 deposit isn't enough to cover. And is it just a 1 month of the utility bill, or is it a backed up bill and someone's moving? And I'm just curious as to how.
Frequently enough that Laura asked that it be put on the agenda.
It's
So,
a
I
common
mean,
thing.
Yeah.
It's not gonna say common, but it does happen a lot with people bail out and
So
don't pay
anyone,
anything.
this won't impact, this will only impact anyone coming in to open a new account,
Yes.
a new residential account.
Right. And it's happening more, I would say, in the rentals where they have people coming and going all the time, and
Well, it's a hefty deposit too. I mean, for some people, it could be, and I just worry about that.
I mean, people that have issues, I mean, Laura makes arrangements with them where they can pay, so much this week or so much that week. And if they have good billing, I'd have to get her from the other side of the wall, but after so many months of good credit, they get their deposit back, that it's not your long-term customers that we're having the problem with. It's the people that are moving in and then moving out.
If they're getting the deposit credited back to their account, then that's not helping the problem of when they move out.
Because it's not those people.
I just want to make sure all the right mechanisms are
They
in
get their
place to
deposit
correct.
back after 2 years. So, they have to be established for a good little while before they actually get their deposit back. And then, of course, when they move out, the deposit is applied to the final bill. A lot of times, though, the deposit's not enough to cover the final bill, and that's where we end up
Yes.
in the red there.
Thanks.
Any further discussion, council? Okay, all in favor? All in favor, none opposed. Item D is approval of the new residential utility service agreement, and the only change in this is the amount of deposit, is it not?
No, there is some other changes. It's to, basically to give us a better recording plan. We can keep up better things, and we can also, ask more questions and get more data from the people, to where if we go into collections, which hopefully we can do that in the future, is we have some backbone now to do that. Right now, there's just not enough information to get a lot of stuff from people. So this actually asks more questions, especially on real agreements. different things like that. Because, you know, like she said, most of your renters, or not most of them, but a lot of them bail on you. And I know some cities make it go back to the property owner to pay it. I don't know if we want to go that route, but a lot of cities have started doing that. Because they're, especially cities with schools, colleges, things like that.
Well, I noticed too that on this application at the very end, the deposits have not been changed.
We had to get them approved before we could change them.
But this is the updated service agreement.
Other than that's completely updated.
Yes, ma'am.
So,
And there's not any big changes, like you said, it's just a lot more of like social security number, driver's license number, things like that we didn't ask for before. So if we want to send it to collections, we can.
And from a legal standpoint, those identifiers are important. Should they write an insufficient funds check? Should they, no, there's different reasons to have those identifiers, but they are confidential, are they not, once they come into the city?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve the new residential utility service agreement.
I'll second that.
Then seconds. Any further discussion? All in favor? All in favor, none opposed. Item E. Discuss and give direction to Simple City Designs for the upgrade of the Bandera Master Plan. And I'm looking for something. That's fine.
We've got them on the Zoom meeting, so we'll turn it over to them here in just a second.
He's on, but he's not unmuting. Hold on. There you
I'm
go.
here.
Okay.
Yes. Hello, everyone. Sorry about that.
Hello.
All right.
Video to- There we go.
Who is it?
It's Matt Lewis.
Matt, okay. Hi, Matt. The council can hear you.
Good morning, Council. Matt Lewis with Simple City Design. Thank you all for allowing us to continue forward with this. We think this is a very important item, particularly during times like this. Before we wrote this proposal, you know, we could not have predicted the situation that we would be in. But in our proposal, we talk about the resilience of Bandera and ensuring that the plan builds for resilience going forward. But we're here to answer any questions and have a dialogue with you regarding the response to the RFQ and the RFP. And so my team is here as well. And we have a few other team members we can get on the line if need be as well.
Matt, I think the purpose of this meeting this morning is to give us council to decide where we want to go, to prioritize this master plan. What do we need to work on first?
I understand.
And then, you know, price this thing out, because as you say, we're in a position now where things are not going well. So, council, where do you want to go with this thing?
And Mayor, if I may, one thing that my team and I started reading your old master plan, and the old master plan has several key elements in it that could carry forward or that may need to be vetted by the community to make sure it still emulates some of the goals and visions. What we would like to do is provide you all, rather than just a plan, an implementation plan that really identifies key pieces that could be bite-sized pieces, low-hanging fruit. Let's identify, 3 to 5 low-hanging items that we can immediately start to build upon that you have. How do we do this in a remote way? What we would like to do is come up with a way that we can help you all modify your codes and your ordinances to actually accomplish this. And so maybe the planning side of this is light, and we start to integrate a lot of what you've done and the ideas and concepts that have already been fleshed out with the community, maybe reintroduce some of those. One, to help cut costs, but also to advance the project where we can start getting into some of the details that go into coding. What we would prefer to do to kick this off is to do a thorough analysis of the town. We call it a DNA assessment. And in the proposal response back, we talk about the DNA assessment and its importance. Furthermore, if we do the DNA assessment and we can start to gather the makeup of Bandera, then we can start to have conversations with the community about less abstract ideas, but further real world examples, like picking a building in town that everyone knows and loves and dissecting the characteristics of that building. And so that we can actually start to have dialogue around the numerical values that make up Bandera now, and how do we preserve those going forward, and how do we enhance the community going forward, and you know, how do we plan for what could be a new norm, which we don't know, but thinking through how to utilize our public infrastructure, thinking through how land uses transfer without stifling development. You know, how can you encourage local entrepreneurial spirit without overburdening them with regulations? This week we were awarded the CNU Charter Award for one of our projects, and it was due to the limited type of regulations that we introduced. We believe that we are creating regulations that are pro-property rights based off of the state standards, while ensuring that the community still achieves its own identity, if you will, and still can accomplish what it's striving to do within certain regulations without coming up with a bunch of arbitrary regulations or overreaching regulations, but really to figure out how cities function going forward without being overly burdensome, without creating bureaucratic process for process sake, to come up with streamlined methods so that people can get in and out of a process quickly, and so that we know that the health safety aspects are accomplished, the community goals are accomplished, and the business owners can move forward, or the developers are able to continue to move forward. And the more that we know about Bandera, the easier we can make that happen. And so our proposal is to really begin the DNA study and the discovery phase of this, so that we can start to help better inform you all. But that's our proposal. We would love to listen and hear your thoughts as well, based on this situation we're in.
Okay. Sure, Matt. Hey, it's Rebecca Gibson.
Hello, Rebecca.
I really appreciate that you guys have taken the time to look further into the current master plan, or at least the framework that had been done with the city, and that you have the confidence that it holds a lot of key elements that can be modified moving forward. So we're not having to completely reinvent the wheel, but just more or less update what we kind of have. You also hit on, you know, codes and ordinances. Our chapter 14 zoning chapter would be a big priority for me, in my opinion. And another big piece that I would personally want to see focus on has to do with Main Street, sidewalks, and accessibility, and this whole getting help navigating with TxDOT, with the individual property owners, finding easements and property lines and all of that, to really formulate a solution that extends the length of town, and finally really get this done. So I kind of feel like some of those pieces would be my interest in the focus. I don't know how other council members
I agree
feel.
with you, Rebecca. Lynn Palmer. Yeah.
So do we want to move forward to phase one, the discovery phase? Is that what council is saying?
I think that's appropriate. Now, may I?
Yes.
Matt, Rebecca again. I know that you mentioned when we met with you that you guys you have a lot of innovative tools to do a lot of your discovery interactively, you know, via internet and different types of applications for questionnaires and polling and things like that. Because I know that a lot of what you do traditionally is in person. You have shown us ways that you bring the community together to host kind of different events to get this type of input and consensus, building these activities. So how is your discovery going to adjust in the current situation?
That's a really good question. And so on the main discovery phase, we would like to do interviews with people. We would probably facilitate those through Zoom. Majority of the discovery phase, though, is going to be us on the ground, walking and studying the built environment, analyzing maps, floodplains, figure out where watersheds break, find out where subbasins are, really analyze the geography of Bandera, study the lot block patterns of Bandera that have existed currently, analyze some of the developments that are going under your current regulations. What do you like? What don't you like? Why don't you like these things? What, how did they come to be? We do a quick flesh of your code of ordinances as well as a thorough on the ground analysis. The community meetups really start in phase 2. Phase 2 would be when we have all of the information that we've extracted from the community, from the mapping, from the geography, the natural environments, built environments, and then we start the community meetup phases. Since we, would not be doing necessarily big community meetups like we had anticipated, we have come up with a few ideas. One would be what's called Idea Scale. An Idea Scale would allow an interactive engagement with your community to where we could pose questions or conversations, topics that the community can go in there and they can post their ideas or their comments, and other community members will vote them up or down. And essentially what we would do is we would want to engage all age groups of Bandera to get them interested in this effort. I mean, this is planning for the next generation of citizens and business owners, and we want them to be a part of this. Idea Scale would allow us to capture community input in a way where the community members keep each other in check. And so basically the idea is that you would be left with the good ideas based off of community input at the top. They all rise to the top, and ideas that get downvoted or disliked by community members would go to the bottom. And so essentially that would be one platform where we would use. We would also plan on facilitating Zoom meetings like this, where we would have illustrators and architects, and we would do a webinar, if you will, that we would facilitate a conversation. We would have maps put up that would be somewhat interactive. We would disseminate the information to the community members on the front end so that the packets of information we would be working through, they would have, so that they would have the information on the front end. So we would have a DNA assessment report that would have these numerical values that would kind of frame out the findings of our discovery phase so that the community could be prepared for the conversation before we even get to that point. The idea is to get everyone educated and up to speed, debate some of the topics and the ideas, because we're not going to hit consensus on all of these ideas, but the idea is that everyone has the ability to study the information so that we can have an informed conversation going forward, so that the outcomes of the dialogue would allow for true, examples of things that could be emulated going into the code or the plan as we go forward.
I only have one question. Are we going to have a timeline of the phases? Like phase 1, is there going to be like
It's page 2.
We had an original timeline.
Oh, okay. I'm
It'll
sorry.
adjust because this one starts in May, but
All right.
it's the
Okay.
second page.
I have it on my.
Do we need to revise that?
Looks like we're looking at like 3 months for each phase,
That's correct.
pretty much.
Oh,
We,
I
Other
see
than
it
like
now. I
phase
see it
4.
now. Okay. Sorry. My apologies. I do see it.
it's okay.
Okay.
And so we would anticipate just moving that up and advancing the timeline based off of the current dates.
My question is really directed more towards the mayor and the city administrator. Should we agree to move into phase 1 of the project? I'm looking at the cost here, $28,105. That's to be executed over about 3.5 months, it looks like from this bar graph. Do we need to come back to council for a budget adjustment? I just don't, did we already establish this line item?
No, we have
We
not
did.
established
But
line item
we
yet.
would have to adjust, move it from contingency. And then moving forward, so I guess where I'm going with this is by the time phase one is wrapping up, we're definitely already working on next year's budget. So we can plan to stagger this out over time. Okay. Okay,
Council,
I'll make a motion to authorize the city administrator and the mayor to move forward with moving into phase one with Simple City.
I'll second that.
Lynn seconds, further discussion? All in favor? All in favor, none opposed.
Thanks so much, Matt.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. We look forward to working with you all, and we'll be in touch soon.
Very good.
I'm so glad to get this thing moving, because it's been 11 years since we
I
began
remember
the
the other
discussion
master
years
plan.
ago.
Yeah.
Awesome, okay. Item,
And they do
Oh,
such a
item
good
F?
job.
Yes.
discussion and possible action to authorize the city administrator to send out RFPs for solid waste services. Question. So these are RFQs that we have. Yep. So is it RFQs for doing?
No, it'll be an RFP is what we're out for. But one thing I wanted to let council know, with the contract we have now with Republic Services, we have the option to extend that contract one time for 5 years, as the original contract was. That's entirely up to council. We can go out for RFPs for other customer services, I should say. And like I said, it's entirely up to council. I will say that we have a very good relationship with Republic. We don't have very many problems with them. Little things that's going to happen. People's trash gets missed because somebody parks the car too close to the dumpster or something. But for the most part, I would say that we are pretty happy with Republic Services.
So would this opportunity be sent out to Republic as well to see if they want to compete for
Oh,
a
absolutely.
new contract? Rebecca?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the authorization of the city administrator to send out RFPs for solid waste services.
Judy seconds. Further discussion?
Yes, I don't know what all is detailed in your RFP. I just happened to see an ad on San Antonio's garbage service recently, where they have recycling, compost, garbage, and then smaller tote sizes for garbage. I'm really curious to see if I think this is the third time we've gone out to bid for garbage services, and I've said the same thing every time, but I would really love to see the opportunity to have some recycling going on in the city and options that
Okay.
these providers have for us.
Sure, we can get that. That's not a problem. We did discuss with Republic a little bit about a recycling station similar like the county has. It's not feasible for the city or a location really for the city, around City Hall. But we can definitely get the prices.
I don't remember getting any of that specific detail back to review as a council or getting any of that information from other companies that offer services. as
We
well.
have not discussed it with other companies. I'll take that back. When I talked with Tiger Sanitation, which is a newer company, they did say that they did have both recycling, even metal recycling at that time. I don't know if they still have the metal recycling because that is not a moneymaker. Metal prices have gone way down, but we can definitely throw it out there. Whatever they throw back, we'll see.
Lynn?
And I would like to look into, and I know it can cause, a little more work maybe, but I would like to look into the smaller totes. We do have a lot of elderly people and single people that don't need that big tote. Is there an option for a smaller
They do
tote?
have, and I
is
don't
it-
know how many they have, but they do have several different sizes.
Uh-huh,
And I'm sure there's probably a price difference, just guessing. I don't
Right.
know that for sure.
right.
Yeah, we can look
If
into
we could
that.
just look into it, so that way we appear like we're trying to service some of those citizens in our community.
And Lynn and Don, perhaps Jerry, y'all remember years ago when we attempted to have recycling in the city, and it was a dismal failure. So just be aware.
But I do think there's a different group of
Oh, I agree.
residents.
Why was it a failure?
On both ends,
sorry.
on both the citizens and on the, company was not Republic at the time. There just wasn't a decent system on how to pick up this and pick up that and how to separate this and separate that. So, we did try, just so you know.
Well, the most recent too is that our service now, we have a lot of dumpers, not just
I don't know that a station is the best option though. You can have it at your home.
I'm just thinking that like we tried to do before, the totes
Yeah.
at our own, at each resident. I think we should try that. I think there's a new group of citizens that live in the city of Bandera that are into the recycling. And
Well, let's see what these different companies can come
Sure.
up with, because remember too, San Antonio can give you a blue, a green, and a brown tote,
right,
but, we're like this many customers compared to San Antonio.
yeah,
Yes,
I
Jim?
understand.
That will be one, I'm not gonna say a problem, but it'll be a hurdle, is if we want to do home recycling. The price may be too much, but we'll find out about that. Now, I think Kerrville has or had recycling, and I think they're getting away with it. I think it's causing cost, but we'll see what numbers they throw out.
Yeah, it's one thing to go around a large city and do this recycling thing from a company, from a solid waste disposal company. But to drive to Bandera, do our little small one, we just need to see the cost. And I agree totally, the smaller totes would be awesome. So if council approves, let's get moving.
Yeah, I would like to see the cost difference between the two, with or without, because
With
whether you're gonna
Recycling.
utilize it,
Mhm.
whether you're gonna utilize that or not, you're still gonna have to pay for it, right?
Absolutely.
I mean,
Yeah,
you
I mean,
can't say, I don't want to.
It's not, yeah, everybody gets it or nobody gets it.
Yeah, and
Right.
I think that's, well, we'll see. But
And
I think
that's
that'll
the
be a
point
big
in
word.
this, right? We don't have the complete RFP in front of us, it goes on to. Okay. Council?
We have a motion.
Yes, ma'am.
We do.
We already had a motion.
No,
Second.
we don't have a motion, I think you question.
Just a vote.
Take a vote.
Take a look.
Yes, Rebecca.
Just take a vote
Call for vote.
on F.
Yes,
Sorry.
because
Yes.
Rebecca made a motion, Sherry seconded, bingo. Any further discussion? All in favor? All in favor? Okay, let's get that moving. Jake, when do you think you'll be able to report back? We need to change the dates on the
Well,
thing.
we will probably, what we put on the original,
I don't remember. I'd have to reread it.
June
this is-
1,
this is
June
a-
15.
probably 30 days.
Well, the original was May 1st and for questions to May 15th to submit, so you'll make it June 1st, June 15th.
We can do that.
Thank you. Okay, let me make a move. Item G, discussion of possible action on extending the 380 agreement between the city of Bandera and Main Street Shops and Lofts until November 20th, 2020, pending approval of extension requested by the TDA. The TDA did approve the extension. We got that on Monday, I believe. We signed off and away it went. Rebecca?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the extension.
A second.
30 seconds. Further discussion? Oh, yes, Lynn.
Does it look like they're gonna get through before November, you think?
Talking to Shay, because we don't communicate with Gene much, they've hired a hotel manager and they're moving forward, and so it's about 6 months.
The hotel manager actually lives here now. She comes from East Texas. Of course, she has nothing to do with the construction, so unless there's a construction problem, then they should be able to open in time.
Sure.
Didn't we discuss that they would hire their employees, 8 or 9 employees by May 28th?
Well, that was before they requested the extension.
I thought that was part of the extension.
Thought that
Well-
was too.
Because of COVID, here comes all this stuff, it's really been a mess. Because they wanted April 28th was gonna be the deadline to get the employees hired, but then the country shuts down March the 20th, so Rebecca?
I would just say that what what they had expressed their intention was to do when all of the furniture started arriving, they were gonna hire their 9 people as soon as they could, as soon as they had those jobs, like getting the furniture moved in, and then they would move on to training them to staff that hotel itself, but that they would hire them for that type of work in advance before the hotel opens.
Right.
Correct. Yeah.
And so my other question is, because this is the second extension, what is gonna happen if they do not complete by this extension date? I want to know what we're gonna do. Okay.
No, they'll be done. The state won't allow any more after this. So.
And so will it be up to that individual to complete the hotel? And do we have something in place that if he doesn't complete it and it stands like it is, what are the repercussions that the city can do to make sure that something's done and it's not sitting there?
Okay, first of all, we have absolutely nothing to do with the hotel, except with the 380 agreement. The construction part of it, our part is on the street and the
Right.
parking. So if he does not finish by that date, we would be liable for the 215,000. And then we would have to go after him or the company to retrieve that money, which means putting a lien on the hotel.
So who has the authority to do something against the hotel if
The
it does
state.
not? Okay.
Texas Department of
Okay,
Agriculture.
the state would come in.
And if I can, they're the ones that recommended they do not hire the people at this time
Okay.
until, I think they said June, wasn't it? Sometime in June.
And, you know, I certainly want to see that hotel completed. It's going to be a huge
Absolutely.
asset for Main Street. But in lieu of how things have been going, I just want to know what the city has in place if it doesn't get completed.
Jerry?
Do we have to give them until November? What's with November? Why November?
That's the state's extension to November 28th of 2020. And they can't very well be open, if you read this, you know, they have to be open and in operation, they have to produce reports. This is not a gift. This is a refund of money held by the city that they have paid. So they have to have an opportunity to open and to operate and to submit these reports to the city before they are reimbursed in the form of a grant, which confuses everybody who calls it grants. But until they're reimbursed this money that they have paid to the city that's held in escrow. So yes, we do need to give them until the 28th because the state gives it to open. Further questions? Okay. All in favor? All in favor, none opposed. Item H, discussion of possible action to fill city council seat vacated by Glenn Clark. Rebecca.
I'd like to make a motion to approve Darcy Hasty to fill the vacancy until November.
I second that motion.
And then second discussion.
I think Darcy will be, go ahead, Don, I'm sorry.
That's what I wanted to ask. I didn't understand who you said.
Oh, I'm
I've
sorry.
got one thought that kind of bothers me a little bit with this, and maybe it's not an important issue, but right now we have Darcy on the EDC. And do you have another person that came in?
Yes, Rosie Lee Smith, her application is in your packet.
Does anybody know Rosalie? I only know of her because her husband has an antique car, which I have some. My thought is, we've got Darcy on EDC, we've got another person willing to serve. We don't need to have a lot of council members on the EDC.
If I can
I mean,
answer
you're
that.
there and I think
Yes,
it's great.
Lynn?
I spoke to Darcy about that, Dawn, and she said that what her plan is she certainly wants to run for election in November. And if she gets elected, she will step down from the EDC. But right now, she's going to remain on the EDC until she runs for election. If she doesn't get elected, then she'll remain on the EDC. So I don't think that there's a problem with that right now. I think that she's willing to step down from that position if she gets elected in November.
Okay, well, I think she's great on the EDC, and she'd be a great council member too, so I don't have a problem with that.
That was also a concern of mine. having to choose from city council in there, even though it's, what, 5-6 months.
Well, right now, we're right in the middle of doing the funding for the businesses, and she's been right there in the middle of that. So, I think that she would like to complete that program as well. And like I said, I spoke to her personally about it, and she said that she would be willing to give up that position if she got elected in November.
Okay, again, like I say, I just thought it'd be great to spread it out a little further and have someone that's, not biased towards either one. Mayor, can you speak on this? Do you have any thoughts there?
I do. This is such a strange time, and Darcy has been active since the beginning. I'm glad to hear the way she's but the way she's functioned on EDC. She's running for, already announced her candidacy. Again, my concern is the same as yours. How many council members do we want on the EDC? So other than that, I would say it doesn't really
Call for vote.
It's a toss up.
Call for vote. Call for a vote.
Okay, all in favor? Rebecca and Lynn are in favor. All opposed?
I guess we're opposed.
Jerry's opposed. Don, are you gonna abstain? What are you gonna do?
I oppose.
You're opposed? Don, so it's up to me. So, lordy. I'm really not having met Ms. Smith and knowing that this is only gonna be for 5 months.
May I say something?
I
Yes,
don't,
you may.
Based on the point,
Really?
someone today, let's
during
let
a
you,
vote,
Huh?
during a vote, is there
Well, that's true.
discussion allowed? I don't think so.
I was gonna say, why not,
But-
let you meet this person, find out something about her and then.
Well, okay, but everybody stop,
Plenty of time.
everybody stop. We're already into this, we're into a vote, my decision. Our options are passed if we're into this one vote. And I don't think it's wise to postpone this decision any longer, and so I'm gonna have to vote against. So, do we have another motion? Jerry,
I make a motion to appoint Rosie Lee.
second? Ron, second. Discussion? All in favor? Okay, Don and Jerry are in favor, all opposed? Rebecca and Lynn are opposed, and I will vote for Rosie Lee Smith to just fill the term of this seat, for the November election. All right, item 6, requested announcements. Request by council to place items on a future agenda. I have some good news for you. On the June 4 agenda, we will have Derek Niser from LNB, hopefully, to present the project information on the 5th, on the Texas Water Development Board Flood Infrastructure Fund application, which includes riparian, drainage, these sorts of things. It's not about the wastewater plant yet. We'll get into that in August. So hopefully we have a presentation for us by June.
May I request our budget adjustment for the phase 1 of the comprehensive master plan?
Anything else? All right.
May I request that we, well, never mind, I'm sorry. Never mind, scratch that.
Well, you can always make a request.
Yeah.
And June 4th will be our next regular meeting at 6 p.m. Anytime you want at all. Any other requests? All right. Item B is announcements by council. It's Memorial Weekend, the park will be open. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday are charging days, yes?
Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Lynn?
I know that the high school graduation got moved up to Thursday. Are they still gonna try to do that parade down?
They're just gonna do a drive-through town, not a parade.
I mean,
but-
I don't mean a parade, I'm sorry. I knew it was just a drive-through
Yes,
town. Are they still
Yeah,
gonna try
they're
to
gonna
do that?
try to, talk to Mr. Hollingsworth last night. He's thinking it'd be over around 8 to 8:15, and then it'll be right after that. Should last about 20 minutes. They're gonna come through and then disperse, whichever way they wanna go.
Right.
Okay, any other announcements? Anybody? Everybody stay safe. Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
One or the other. Chair makes a motion to adjourn, then seconds, discussion. All in favor? All in favor, none opposed. 10:04.